All right, you ready? So here's like the intro part. To bra or not to bra, exploring a journey of life's unpredictable twists and turns, how to claim your personal power from within and lead a fun, fulfilled, soul-driven life, one epic, hilarious, insightful coffee chat at a time. Let's get real. Let's get raw. This is your host, Em, on Bra or Not to Bra. Hey fam, welcome back. I am so happy you are here listening to this today. It means the world to me as always, and I cannot wait to share today's episode with you all. If this is your first time tuning in, To Bra or Not to Bra is a podcast about all things personal growth, health and mental wellness, spirituality, and so much more. It's about stepping into your worthiness and making the empowered choices to live the life you deserve. My name's Emily, your host, and I am a certified health and mental wellness coach with a passion for helping women step into their most powerful, confident, badassiest versions of themselves. In today's episode, we're talking with Dr. Brittany Barreto, geneticist, serial entrepreneur, podcast host, and venture capitalist. Brittany is known for being the co-founder and executive director of FemTech Focus, a nonprofit that supports innovation to improve women's health. She's also the badass host of the FemTech Focus podcast, which has over 100 episodes, 32,000 downloads, and subscribers in over 105 countries. She's quite literally the definition of a badass boss babe. Join us today as we talk all about FemTech, what it is, why it's important, why women weren't included in medical trials until 1993, the role this has played in women's healthcare over the years, how Brittany went from selling sex toys in college to being one of the biggest leaders in the FemTech world today. We talk about closing the gender pain gap and Brittany's personal health journey, shifting from a dieting mindset to a fueling mindset. Stay tuned till the end because Brittany shares her favorite lesson that she's ever learned. And guys, it's a good one. All right, you guys, I am out of breath. Brittany and I just started by doing a little pre-warm-up Britney Spears rock out session. Ooh.
I only need to be asked once to stand up and dance.
I literally forced her to stand up and dance, you guys. I was like, we are not starting this until I see you shake your butt. And that defines our relationship. All right, Brittany, let's get started. I'm so freaking happy to have you here today. You guys, she is like the definition of badass boss bitch. Like I think I'm going to reach out to the Google gods and make them put that in the definition.
How about we call the state and we change my legal name? Middle name badass.
Yes, I love it. Oh my God, that's perfect. All right. Who are you, girl? Let us know.
Well, I'm Dr. Brittany Barreto, and I'm a geneticist, an entrepreneur, and an investor, and I specialize in women's health.
That's like her boring version of what she does, though, you guys.
That's very quick. That's my LinkedIn tagline, you know?
I do this, and this. And by the way, I change the world every day. So you are in FemTech. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about your journey, because first of all, most people have no idea what FemTech is. So let's start there.
Yeah. So the definition of FemTech is innovation in women's health and wellness. So when I say innovation, I like listeners can think of like Shark Tank. So all the people pitching on Shark Tank are innovators. They're innovating something. They're finding a solution to some problem. And so my job, I used to be the person pitching. I'm now the shark in chairs. That's like my best like description of what my day job looks like. But FemTech is improving women's health and wellness because women have historically and systemically been excluded from medicine and healthcare innovation because forever they just assumed that women were hysterical And then science was born and they started to do real life science in laboratories and stuff. But at that point, they still excluded women because our hormonal cycle was quote unquote too complicated and might mess up the data. And so when it was assumed that we'll just optimize medicine for men, and then we'll just decrease it by 20%. And that's like the diet plan we give to women, the medicines we give to women.
Okay. Can you tell the stat about the medical trials?
Yeah. I mean, women were, it was illegal for women to be included in clinical trials from 1970 till 1993. So any drugs that went to market before 93 were never tested on a woman because the top priority in medicine at that time was women bearing children, and they didn't want to interfere with that process. And so they didn't include women in clinical trials. That's not very good when you're trying to make a clinical trial about, let's say, endometriosis, something that only affects people with uterus, right? Like, okay. Also, all the statistics about, you eat. Did you ever hear like take a baby aspirin to help your heart health or whatever?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Growing up all the time.
That study was done on 60,000 white men. And they actually redid the study a few years ago and showed that it's not effective for women because
shocking.
Like women's hearts and men's hearts are they're give or take the same, but the way that disease manifests in it, the way heart attacks do, the way like, the arteries get clogged, it's very different. And so, in fact, women die more often from heart attacks than men do, even though men have more heart attacks because the symptoms are different. And the symptoms we learned about were the men's symptoms. So everyone, I think, has heard that a heart attack looks like chest pain and a numb left arm. That's actually only the symptoms for men. Women's heart attack.
No way.
Yeah.
Because I was a lifeguard. Lord help me for the people who I watched in pools, you guys. That should not have been legal. But I was a lifeguard and we learned like CPR and like all that stuff in the booklet. Yeah. So you're telling me that I basically would have been responsible for not helping a woman who was having a heart attack who didn't show the signs that I had studied.
Yeah. For women, a heart attack is like extreme fatigue, jaw pain, GI tract issues. And so usually if they do present and go to the doctor, they're usually sent home saying, hey, well, that sounds like you're on your period, I
was just going to say every woman listening right now is probably like, shit, am I having a heart attack?
I'm having a heart attack right now. Yeah. And so anyways, the whole definition of FemTech is that we have literally been basing medicine on men for so long that we've actually accepted healthcare as it is, which is totally discriminatory against women. And not just healthcare, I mean, everyday things like seatbelts in cars kill women. We know that. We know that they kill women because seatbelts are made for a male's physiology, their height, their chest, their waist, everything. Have you ever, I mean, listeners, if you've ever been pregnant, when you're in those later stages, that last like trimester, how do you put the seatbelt on your belly, right? Everyone just tries to do whatever they think. Did you know that it's still not required for car safety ratings to include a female physiology dummy? So when you see those commercials for like Honda and Toyota,
you're right.
They're like, look how safe this is. All the dummies are men.
Like, where are the boobs?
There's no boobs. There's no
boobs.
I think the first female crash dummy was made like 7 years ago or something, but they still are not required to use it. So
what?
I know. This is crazy. Once you
oh my gosh,
rock with me, there's so many rocks. There's so many.
Like this podcast could be literally 10 hours. But before we dive into anything, I think we need to share the story of how we met.
Yeah.
Do you want to start off with that one?
I mean, I had a friend who lived in Chicago and she was friends with this guy who she put me in touch with because he was looking for a scientist to give feedback on a technology he was working on. So I started with that. And then he was like, there's this like really amazing woman that you should meet. And there was a group chat and it was you.
You guys, I'm an amazing woman.
You're the amazing woman. Yeah.
Wow.
And I messaged him back and I said, you are right. She is amazing. We've already talked about clitorises, sex toys and nutrition.
Okay.
And he was like, yeah, wow.
So this guy, you guys, he is, I don't even know what to call him, like one of my exes. Like we went out for a few months, but we kept in touch a little bit because he is an entrepreneur in AI and I thought it was cool and he thought what I was doing was cool. So he reaches out to me during the pandemic and is like, there's this woman that you have to meet. And I'm like, okay. He was like, no, she's a really amazing entrepreneur. She's really successful. Like she has her own podcast. And I know you were thinking about starting one. Oh. So like basically telling me to reach out to you. So you could like be my guru. Mm-hmm. And he knows me. So to get me to talk to you, he was like, I promise you're going to talk about sex in the first 10 minutes. And I was like, I don't know how to take that because you know that like entices me to now for sure reach out to her, but also like, I
mean, if that's people's impression of me, like, hey, she'll probably talk about the vulva within 10 minutes. Honestly, it's not too far off from the truth though.
I mean, that's a reputation that I want to have too.
Emily, it's so funny you say this because just the other week in July, I was in Miami for a conference and I was on a panel and I talked about vaginas because that's what I do for a living. And for the conference had 2 more days and I was then known as the vagina lady for 48 hours. And you know what? It wasn't a bad name. Everyone knew who I was. I was the vagina lady.
Okay. Well, were you wearing your vulva earrings?
Always. I'm wearing them right now. These are the uterus earrings.
Oh shit. Mm-hmm. Whatever. All part of the female.
Yeah.
If you're listening right now and not watching the video, go to her Instagram page just so you can see what these earrings are because they're incredible. So I reach out to Brittany. We talk, we fell in love with each other. And I think by the end, so I'm telling her what I do. And by the end of our like 40-minute, no, I think we talked for like 2 hours. Let's be real. Conversation. You're like, okay, can you send me the link to sign up for your group program? I'm in.
Yeah. Because we were talking about what you do and you were like, yeah, I coach people on, what is eating based on what your body wants, and how do you love what you see in the mirror? And I pretty sure I cried on the first call with you. I'm a crier. Yep. I cry a lot. I accept that. I love that about myself. And I think I cried with you and I was like, I'm so messed up with eating. Like I have so many food issues. Please help me. So your ex essentially was thinking I was the guru. And by the end of the call, I was giving you my credit card number.
It was so funny. And then I tell you, I'm like, don't worry. I basically should be called a professional cry maker. Like somehow I have that effect on people when I first talk to them, just because they open up to me. It's a good cry, you guys. Yeah. I'm not like rude. No. I like let you feel and let it out.
The tears came right out.
So she joins my group program.
This group program, y'all, like I've signed up for everything that has to do with dieting. And I thought that's what I was signing up for with M, but actually it was a like consciousness shift around nutrition and food and hunger and fullness and body image. And the thing that I found the most interesting was that I think I'm pretty like, I've gone to therapy for so many freaking years. Sometimes I think I can like therapy myself. And what I realized with M was that I was still in some old thinking around a lot of stuff pertaining to food and body image. And M was really good about hearing what I said in terms of this happened yesterday, or this is how I felt, or this is what I ate. And she said, sounds like this is what triggered that, and that this is what happened next. And I was like, holy moly. That's exactly what I think happened. So I think it's about the mindset of nutrition and fueling your body. So that was my experience.
Totally amazing. And then I think like the best part that summarizes your experience is on our first call, you talked about how you wanted to wear a bikini in
Yeah. So I think it was February when we were chatting originally. I said my 30th birthday is in July, and I want for my 30th birthday to lose 30 pounds and have a picture of me in a bikini on the beach in Hawaii on my 30th birthday, post it on social, and be this hot ass babe. And you were like, okay, girl, let's do it. Well, fast forward, y'all. What happened was I lost 10 pounds, but I felt really strong. That was one of the biggest things, is that I had joined kickboxing and I was eating like things that made me feel fuel. So I felt so strong. And I went to Puerto Rico instead of Hawaii, whatevs, but like
crucial detail.
But and then I sent a selfie of myself in my bikini to my group with M on it and was like, look at me, ladies. And
with her boyfriends that she,
and I was like, I really want a boyfriend, and I found one. And so yeah, a lot of manifestations happening there.
So amazing. So y'all know that we start off with asking random ass questions to each other. I love this little segment. Do you want to ask me first, or
I'll ask you? Ready?
Oh shit, I'm scared.
Have you ever had a haircut that was so bad that you immediately knew it was bad, but you were like, thank you, and then left and then got it redone by somebody else?
Yes, but it wasn't a haircut. It was when I went blonde. Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about this in forever. So about like 4 years ago, I think, I was like, I'm going to go blonde. So I went to the salon in the city with my best friend. I like really needed her for moral support, you guys. Went blonde, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
Like it is not cheap to get your hair done.
Mm-mm.
And I look, and you can't really tell at the beginning, especially when you get your hair colored. You're like, okay, I think this looks good. And then I was like, thank you. I'm so excited. I'm blonde. Woohoo. I go home and I'm like, fuck.
I hate it.
I look like streaky 90s blonde highlights. So I end up going to someone else to get it redone, which, all right, hey, another $200. And then she's like, oh, you need to come back again so that we can really get the blonde in. No joke, you guys. I spent $1,000 getting my hair blonde within 10 days.
Oh my God. Now, the real question is, how long did you keep it blonde for?
Oh, you guys, I kept it. Well, that's when I met the guy that introduced us. So clearly it did something.
That was an investment to meet me.
I mean, you're welcome. $1,000 so that I can meet you is 100%.
I mean, that's how much I charge my VIP tickets, you know?
I mean, hell yeah, girl, charge your worth. All right. Are you ready for my question? Okay. Did you ever have an embarrassing moment during gym class in school?
Yes. So, and when I was a senior in high school, I was actually a foreign exchange student, and I lived in Paris for 1 year. And
I did not know that about you.
Yep. I was that kid in the back of the class, super weird American girl in Paris, lived with a French family for a year. I did not speak French when I went there. I learned it by the end of the year, but the gym class. So in France, the class schedule is weird. Wednesdays you have half days, and Saturday mornings you have class. And I had gym class on Saturday mornings. Okay. And so my first ever gym class, we were, it was like September, and we went to the track, and they were like, all right, this month is track month or whatever. So I was like, okay, track. Okay. So I'm going to wear shorts, and I'll put pants over it and like a t-shirt. Yeah. And then I get hot, I'll take the pants off, and then I'll be in my shorts. So I went out to the track, and I'm 17, and you're just, I don't speak French. I have no friends. I'm in a foreign country. I'm like trying as best that I can to fit in. And they were like, all right, do, warm up lap. So we ran around the lap once, and it was hot. And so everyone was wearing pants. I was like, surely everyone has shorts under their pants. So I took my pants off, and I was in my shorts. And turns out France, like, shorts are not a thing. And so it looked like I was wearing underwear. And everyone just stared at me because they were like, why, can you imagine a world where shorts aren't really a thing? And then like someone's wearing them and everyone's wearing pants. It would look like someone's just hanging out in their boxers, right? So it was like I was hanging out in my panties, and I was like, why won't anyone talk to me? I feel so weird. Why are they all looking at me? Like, what's wrong? And so then I like, after about 10 minutes, just trying to like grin and bear it, like, whatever, I'm American. We wear shorts. After 10 minutes, I couldn't take it anymore. Put my pants back on. I was like so embarrassed.
Did you have like a nickname for the rest of the semester?
No, my French family called me Petite Brit, little Brit. Petite Brit.
That's epic. Wow. That's up there with answers to these questions.
Don't wear shorts to your French high school gym class. You will look like you're half naked and be embarrassed.
To all the people out there who are ever going to do that.
I mean, and today at 30-year-old woman today, I'd be like, whatever. But as a 17-year-old who like didn't speak the language, high schooler, had no friends.
Oh my God, I can't
like
imagine.
the worst.
If only they knew the badass you were about to transform into.
Oh, why did it? Yeah, they should. Yeah.
Amazing. So how did you go from wearing your underwear in gym class in Paris to doing what you do now?
So after France, I went to college, majored in biology, and wanted to be a genetic counselor, actually, because I love DNA and I love interacting with humans.
What's a genetic counselor?
Genetic counselor is somebody pregnant women go to, especially if you're over 35, to see if your baby has any potential genetic abnormalities based on your age, or if you're of a certain ethnic group that has, historically genetic diseases. So then you would go to kind of get checked. So turns out genetic counseling for me seemed to be like the most saddest job in the world, because I shadowed one for the day and she spent her whole day telling moms that their unborn baby was really sick. And I was like, this is essentially a horror movie. Like, God bless any of y'all listening who are genetic counselors, but like, I was like, I am way too sensitive for this. Like, can't do that. So I then got an internship in the laboratory. Turns out I'm really good at experiments, doing benchtop science. And then I went to do my PhD in molecular and human genetics at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. So I moved down there and I was studying small RNAs and E. coli. You don't need to know what that means. It just is like sciencey shit.
Guys, I'm not even gonna like interrupt her anymore to ask what these words mean.
Yeah.
Like all you really have to know is that she's really smart.
So sciencey, but when I was in that laboratory setting, I realized that was also not the career I wanted, because I could relate to all my peers on science. But after that, like, I was a weirdo, right? Because I was in the top PhD program for genetics in the world. They accepted 10 people a year from around the world to their program. So I was with people that were like, on the spectrum of like introverted, nerdy scientists, they were it, right? And then there's me, and I have red hair, pink hair, buzzed hair, and I have tattoos, and I like make jokes about how that powder looks like cocaine, and they're like, you see cocaine? And I'm like, you have it? Like, so I just found myself like, I don't know if I could work in a lab my whole life. Like, I'm really struggling to make friends. And so I found the entrepreneurship world, and entrepreneurship is really my bread and butter, because there's a lot of scientists and doctors in entrepreneurship, a lot of really, really smart people, but we also have this, we are a requirement to relate to humans and be able to present your innovations and give a pitch on it, like similar to Shark Tank, right? Like, those people you have to put on a show. And that's what I love. That's what I enjoy. So that's the world I've ended up in.
Wow. I feel like you did something cool on the side that I was like, that's hilarious. And that's so you.
Well, in college, in order to pay the bills, I sold sex toys.
Yes, that's what it is.
So I became an independent distributor of Athena's Home Novelties, and I did passion parties, and I specialized in Greek life and stay-at-home moms.
That's genius.
I loved it, because what happened was I was in my dorm with like $2,000 worth of dildos, right? And then on Friday and Saturday nights, I would get all dressed up, a little bit dominatrixy, but also not, like, with that kind of like vibe. and I would bring these bags of dildos to like this Delta Beta house or whatever. And I would put on these passion parties. Essentially, it was literally, honestly, it was sex ed. What I was doing was I was education, because what would happen is I would do this little fun event. I'd be like, here's what this one does, and here's what that one does, and make everyone feel real comfortable. And then we'd go one by one in a room, and people would ask me the questions that they've been dying for answers to, right? And I mean, men would say, I'm interested in butt play, right? And it was obvious that they had never asked somebody about that, you know, or I'd have couples saying, we like this, or I'd have a woman saying, I've never had an orgasm, or I've this or that, or I'm a virgin, can I even use this? And all that kind of questions. And so I felt like I loved it because I was making money, talk about sex, which I love doing. And also I was empowering people with information. And
so why did you switch jobs? No,
I feel like I almost have not switched.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, speaking of that, guess what I got like a month ago that you introduced me to? Do you know what I'm about to tell you?
Sex
oh, you
toy.
can see it. It's the lioness. Guys, this is, so I learned about this from Brittany's podcast. What's your podcast? Can you give a shout out?
FemTech Focus.
FemTech Focus. Let's go. So it's basically a smart vibrator. Like it takes intel on the wavelengths of your orgasm and it makes a song out of your orgasm, you guys. How fucking cool is that? It is definitely an investment. Most money I've ever spent on a sex toy, but
you're contributing to other women's orgasms because the Lioness is a big fat data company, de-identified. Obviously, they're not like, here's M's crazy orgasms. They're like, you know, it's just like a lot of orgasms in this data.
I would volunteer. I think it's so cool.
You're like, you can tag me. That's fine. But you know, what they're doing is, did you know that there is a crazy statistic of 1 in 4 women struggling to have orgasms? In fact, 15% of women have never had one. Can you imagine if 1 in 10 men had never come? There would be uproar. There would be an outrage, but yet 1 in 10 women have never had an orgasm.
Wow.
Yeah. So that device and your orgasms, if you are coming climax yeah, all that data is going into how do we help that 10% of women.
And it helps you because it like stores your data and it lets you know like, okay, this is what you like. This is, anyways, it's really cool.
I love their YouTube channel because they actually, one of the founders, what she'll do is she'll let people ask her questions like, what does an orgasm look like while high? And so she'll get stoned, use it, and then she'll show the data and be like, yeah, it took me way longer to climax. Or how about like orgasming while drunk or orgasming while blah, blah, blah. And so she'll do it and then she'll show her data. It's kind of fun.
That's a great job.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So FemTech Focus. That's your company. You also have Coyote Ventures, which you haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, I know. There's so much, dude. So I'm in my PhD program.
I'm like really cool.
Like sounds more like scattered life crisis every year. Like, what the hell am I doing with my life? But so I'm in my PhD program. I do end up finishing my PhD, y'all. But during that time, I started my first biotech company called Pheromore. Pheromore was the first nationwide DNA-based dating app. So I matched singles based on a cheek swab that looked at pheromones and could predict sexual compatibility. So again, sex.
AKA the literal foundation of the show that's on Netflix. I don't even remember what it's called.
The one. Yeah. Like it's the same science. Yeah, it's the same
copyright issue.
Yeah, people ask me, they were like, "Is that your show?" And no, it's not my show because I based my dating app off of science from the 70s. They had already discovered all this stuff, like the pheromones and what genes can predict attraction. I was the first hopeless romantic geneticist to say, "Fuck, I want my Tinder to be better. I'm going to use the science I learned about in school and make a dating app."
Hey, but if that ended up continuing to happen, then I would have potentially used that app and maybe wouldn't have met the guy who introduced us.
Yeah.
So
You
everything
never
happens
know.
for a reason is the moral of the story.
The journey, y'all. Just trust the journey, whatever way it's taken, you trust it. So that's how I got into entrepreneurship. And then fortunately, Faramore died. You can learn more about, just Google it. There's a story online about it. And then I got into venture capital. So venture capital is the sharks that are in the seats, right? So I was originally the founder pitching, and then I turned into the shark. I worked for a firm, helping them look for deals and da-da-da. And I learned a lesson, y'all. I learned that the people I was working for, which were 3 white bros who were in charge of a $30 million fund, they were just kind of like bros who like ended up in positions of power. And I was like, wait, you're in charge? If you could be in charge, I could definitely be in charge, right? Like I had this perception that investors were like super financial savvy geniuses, and that was not the case. And so that really ignited me to start my own fund, because I was seeing how much money they were rolling in. And I was like, I want to roll in money, and I want to invest in things that I care about, because we were a fund in Texas. So I had to look at a lot of oil and gas and like supply chain management. It was so boring, but I loved healthcare deals. And then I loved the women's health deals. And then that's when I got into FemTech, innovation in women's health. I started the podcast, FemTech Focus. And now 2 years later, the podcast is wildly successful, 32,000 downloads, over 105 countries. And
oh shit, you guys.
I know.
I'm just going to like manifest it out there that same.
Yes.
But no, her podcast is really like, if you are choosing between all the other ones, listen to hers.
It's Focus is next on your list. Yeah.
So cool. I'll put it in the show notes, the link to it. I want to know what it was like pitching this kind of stuff to all of these VCs. What was it like?
Well, when I first was telling my bosses at that fund, like, I'm really interested in women's health, they were like, that's nice. That's cute. That's like a niche thing. That's like a small market. And I was like, women are not niche, and it's a huge market, and it's not cute. It's actually devastating because the things that we're creating are like the first ever, whatever, right? Like, it was like women are dying because this solution doesn't exist yet. And so it actually really made me mad, honestly, the way VCs were seeing it, because there is this real lack of, society says women don't talk about things. Don't tell anyone you're pregnant in first trimester, because there's a 1 in 3 chance that you're going to have a miscarriage, and you don't want to burden people with that. You keep that burden to yourself, which is bullshit, right?
Bullshit, because then there's no societal ritual for the grieving process, and it leads to more shame and guilt.
Yep. And society says, don't tell us about your periods. Don't show us you're sharing a tampon with your girlfriend in class. Hide it in your sleeve, right? They say, do whatever you can and not get a stain on the back of your pants. Do whatever you can and not talk about your menopause, hot flashes, or your fertility journey, or, your lack of orgasms. Don't talk about that. Don't talk. No one wants to hear it. No one wants to hear it. So then what has happened is that now when I say, oh my God, incontinence is huge. 1 in 3 women who've given vaginal birth are peeing themselves on a daily basis. When we go to investors, they say, what? 1 in 3 women are peeing their pants? No way. I've never heard of this $1 billion market. And it's like it all built up on each other. And so what we need to do is dismantle it and start to talk about menses and hot flashes and boob sweat and all the things and yeast infections. And we need to talk about these things, because then we'll realize that we're not the only ones experiencing it. Actually, a lot of women are, and it deserves a solution. I mean, only just taking Monistat and wearing your yeast panties, there's like not the best.
Your yeast panties, holy shit, that needs to be a company. Oh my God.
You know what I'm talking about, though? You're laughing because you have a pair. You have a pair, don't you? Right?
No, I don't. I have period panties.
Oh, okay.
But I got an IUD a few years ago. So my period is like very, very light. So I don't have as many period panties. Also, I haven't said the word panties this much in a very long time.
Welcome to interacting with Brittany Barreto.
This is great. What are some of the common myths of this femtech industry?
Oof. I mean, one of the myths is that it's only female founders. So almost all of our founders are women, but this is not a girls only club. In fact, we really, really need men in the equation because women's health is everyone's health. Women helped create Viagra. Men should help create new IUDs that don't hurt, right? Like we need.
Please do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, that's one of the biggest myths I would say is that women are niche, which we're not, obviously. Niche being like very small market. We are not. There's a lot of vaginas that have a lot of needs, and that it's only women working in this space. Yes, the majority are, but that's actually, I hope, will change. We need more men in this space who are willing to talk about heavy menstrual bleeding, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So for all of these women and men who are even just having the idea sparked in their head of, oh, I want to break into the FemTech industry. Mm-hmm. What's the most common block that you find them having? Especially, let's focus on women. So what's the most common block that you find women are having who want to break into the FemTech industry?
Well, I think that one of the biggest issues is that women think that they need to be perfect and their product needs to be perfect before they can even start their company. And also they may question, well, this is, for me, a passion project, but would anyone else care? Right? Like, I think a lot of times women in women's health think I'm the only one experiencing this problem because we have such a silence culture around our bodies and what we're experiencing, our bodily fluids and, phases of our life, that I think a lot of women think, well, I could make a device or an app or, a new kind of pad or whatever, but I bet I'm the only one who really wants it or needs it. All the other women seem to be happy and healthy, which unfortunately we are not all happy and healthy, and we could probably use your solution.
Yes. Yeah. I love that because it's also like the little things that build on each other that improve your quality of life. Like you don't have to be in dire need of something. You don't have to be in excruciating pain in order to seek a solution that can benefit you.
Yeah. And that actually speaks to the gender pain gap. So we always learn about the gender pay gap, but the gender pain gap is that historically we have normalized pain for women. Oh, you have pain during your menstrual cycle? That's normal. Oh, you're having menstrual pain like because of this? That's normal. You're having pain after childbirth? That's normal. And we need to create a new normal where women deserve to not be in pain or not be uncomfortable or not being peeing our pants or not be, dealing with hot flashes while trying to give a board presentation, right? Like we deserve to have the gender pain gap minimized because men's pain is addressed very, very acutely and quickly and seriously. Whereas women, it's like, oh, well, women, that's normal pain. And we need to get rid of normal and pain. Any pain for women, we deserve better than that.
Wow. Okay. Dr. Brittany Barreto for president, guys. Who's on board? Who's on board? Seriously. For you in your journey so far, what's the biggest holy shit, I can't believe this is actually happening to me moment that you've had?
I feel like my whole life is like that because I'm the first person in my family to go to college. No one even talked about college. Like for me, education was my way out of my family. I'm from rural northern New Jersey, and Jersey, you may think Newark or Trenton. I'm from like the real country part of northern New Jersey up in the mountains. We actually, at my high school, we had the first day of hunting season off as a holiday. That's how freaking country. That's where I grew up. Yeah.
Wow.
And so,
wow.
Yeah. Christian holidays and hunting season were the only holidays recognized at my school.
Oh,
so anyway, for me, when you say like, what's the biggest, like, wow, I can't believe this is my life. I'm like, my entire life is like that because, there's like a small handful of people from my high school that also have gotten out, quote unquote. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina now. And so I just see my entire journey, my education, my endeavors in entrepreneurship, and now becoming an investor, like all of it is just a big, fat, glorious journey of gratitude.
That's a great answer to that question. We're coming towards the end. if you could leave everyone listening with one major takeaway, especially for those of us not involved in the FemTech world, what would it be?
This is my favorite lesson that I've learned, and I want to share it with y'all. And is that you are pre-approved. So I always feel like I need to do things and accomplish things in order to get approval from whatever, my mom, my dad, society, my bosses, my teachers, my friends, whoever. I think I need to do something in order to get approval, right? But what I want to tell you is that you are pre-approved. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to accomplish anything. You don't have any boxes to check off to get approval. Just like the credit card thing, mailers you get every single freaking day and then to go in your trash or your recycling that say you're pre-approved for this credit card. You are pre-approved in your life. There's nothing that you need to do in order to be approved. You are pre-approved.
Wow. Yes. You are born worthy. Like you came into this earth worthy of creating what you deserve, of making the choices to live your best freaking life possible.
That's right. And for me, a lot of times wrap that up into weight loss. I'm not approved for, eating that late night pizza because I think I need weight to lose, or I don't think I deserve to go on that vacation because I'm not skinny enough yet for that photo I want. And so like, how do I wrap up my pre-approval with my weight or my body image? Because I so often use that quantitatively, like the circumference of my waist is equivalent to my approval status, which is not true. It is not true.
That was a major mindset shift for you. Mm-hmm. That was huge in your journey because then it all of a sudden switched from, okay, I am not worthy of having this.
Yeah.
I don't get to step into this space of pleasure and enjoyment because I should suffer.
Yeah.
And then, and that relates to the whole pain gap. Mm-hmm. And then from that to, hey, what does my body actually want? Mm-hmm. And when you started getting into that, that's when all the shifts came. I remember the first time you told me that you were out with your friends and you were having like after parties, and what happens? They like ordered pizza or something. And
yeah, so the short story, y'all, is that I was high and I was real drunk and we ordered late night Domino's and it got delivered. And I sat there with a few of my friends who were still kind of hanging out. And I ate a slice of that Domino's pizza and every bite was like an orgasm. And I was just like, like, and one of my friends had commented, Britt, you got to make those noises. I said, yes, like this is an experience right now. I'm eating this fucking pizza. And I used to, working with Em, tell her like, oh, I feel really bad about myself. Last night I got high and I got this milkshake and why do I do this to myself? And she's like, girl, if you're going to do it, why don't you enjoy it? And then that evening I did, I enjoyed every freaking bite because I'm living my life over here, and you deserve to have a late night Domino's slice of pizza, y'all.
Yes. And when you don't feel shame and guilt over it, you don't feel pulled to have the whole thing.
Yes, because I lacked the shame and every bite I was like, I deserve this delicious. I only ate one
every bite.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening right now who is hardcore nerding out on everything that you're saying and obsessed with you like I am, where can they go to get more involved, to learn more about what this whole category of FemTech is about and what you're all about?
Yeah. Well, obviously you're listening to this. You love podcasts. So check out my podcast. It's called FemTech Focus. It's on all the streaming apps. And then, and there's a lot of episodes. So scroll through them, find out an episode you want. In fact, we may even have a special guest coming on the show named Emily. You're going to hear this conversation, but in a reversed I'll be the host. So that's exciting. So yeah, check out the podcast, FemTech Focus, and you can go to femtechfocus.org. That has everything we have there. You know, you can join our virtual community. We also recently published a paper on the FemTech industry. So if you're into graphs and data, we got that for you there. And that's the best way to stay connected. And you can follow me. I'm on all social media except TikTok. Haven't picked that up yet, but my username is usually Dr. Brittany Barreto. So Dr. Brittany Barreto.
Yes. And I'll put that in the show notes as well, you guys. Thank you so much for coming on, Brittany. I love it. This was basically like a 30-minute session of me laughing my ass off. So Thank you.
So good. So good. And I didn't even get to show you my clitoris. My 3D printed clitoris.
Oh my gosh. Oh no. Wait, you have to. Okay. Please just explain that in like 30 seconds.
It looks like a wishbone, but this is actually the anatomy of your clitoris. And it was first discovered in the 1800s. The anatomy of the clitoris was discovered in the 1800s, but medicine deemed it inessential, not important, irrelevant. And they took it out of textbooks until 1997. 1997 was the first time they put the clitori back in the medical textbooks.
What? Clitori? Yeah. Is that the plural?
That's what I've been going with because no one has been able to answer me in terms of plural clitorises. So I just call it clitori.
All right, let's go with clitori.
Because I'm the FemTech queen. I'm like, people will believe it.
Yeah, you get to set the standard. And you like pull that out at parties when people ask you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely, y'all. So check out my LinkedIn right now. Go to Dr. Brittany Barreto. My LinkedIn page is me giving a presentation and the light just so happens to hit on me like a halo. And I'm holding up this clitoris into the air. It's really a very a statement provoking photo of me.
That is the best message ever. Keeping your truest, most authentic self and doing what you love, AKA playing around with clitori.
Yep.
And you will be successful in whatever you want to do.
Yes, I love it.
And that's a wrap on today's show with Dr. Brittany Barreto. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I did making it for y'all. I love her so much. If you want to find out more information, make sure you go to femtechfocus.org. It's truly an incredible community. And if you love the show, be sure to give it a 5-star review, subscribe so you never miss an episode, but most importantly, keep being awesome.